Welcome to Attican Plays Rise of Industry. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to another Rise of Industry video. In this one, we're going to talk about how to stay organized and how to handle these products that need raw resources like coal and iron and sand and oil and copper and wood, and how to keep those organized and sort of make the whole thing be sort of a plug-and-play system. So what we've got here is what we're looking at is the map. If I can get it to move, here we go. Is the map that we started out on our normal playthrough. And Iberia is kind of our headquarters, and that's the first city we started. And we started out, we jumped straight in and built two sets of berry pie factories so that we could maximize our profit, and we're making buku dollars off the berry pies, and we didn't have anything else that we could target, so we ended up just building out businesses or products that would fill every need in Iberia as for the diner. So we had chicken soup, then beef stew, then cheese, then we added chocolate bars and apple juice and grape juice or orange juice, and flour, some more flour in addition to what we have over here in the berry pies. And now we're supplying the diner with everything that it needs. And we also we're still, waiting on another good opportunity. Oh, and we also did this. We had in Oberon, there is an ironmongery, and that ironmongery sorry. It's not the ironmongery, it was a car parts. A car parts shop opened up, and we built out this interior lining business. So we've got a really nice interior lining business up here near Oberon, pumping in interior linings into Oberon. We've got our whole food thing going on down here in Iberia, and we wanted to keep growing because there weren't any other good like tier 3 kind of products that we could target. So wanted to start pumping stuff into like the ironmongery and whatever was available at the time. So we set up down here, we set up a ceramics business down here with coal and sand and ceramics. We set up over here, we had a diodes business with using copper to make copper wire, setting up our building glass so that the glass and the copper wire could go to the diodes, and the diodes could get shipped all the way over to Kwood on the other side over there, way over here, over there. Oberon, excuse me, got them mixed up. Oberon. And but I kept looking at it and thinking, every time I want to add a product, now I have to go out and find my raw material and then build all the factories out there in some place out in the country, and then ship them back in. And I thought it'd be a lot easier if we made sort of something like this. Now this is basically a warehouse that is set up so that iron ore, oil, wood, sand, copper, coal all come into that warehouse, and then it feeds all the industries that basically need that kind of stuff. So I went out and actually sorry, give myself a good laugh every video because I end up showing you that. Okay, all right. So I can't not do it. Okay, so I wanted to kind of figure that out. So one of the things I did was I've added something to this, and I'll change the link and put it up to date. But I basically said, what raw resources do you need to do this? Now you could figure it out just by going through the list, but when you've got a fairly involved one, it could be a fairly big list. So I put that there, but it was just an exercise for me to kind of organize my thoughts. And what I ended up doing is coming up with those businesses that that are strictly those raw materials. In other words, wooden planks production only needs wood. A glass only needs sand and coal. Steel only needs coal and iron. Copper tubing needs copper. Copper wire needs copper. Refined oil needs oil. Chemicals need oil and gas. So you kind of get the idea. Those are the things that are kind of base first line things that we could make from our raw materials. So I thought, why don't we set it up so that those things are all together? We make those together, and then we ship what they make off to either a factory nearby to make an end product that we want to ship out, or ship them off to sell in some cases. So for example, here's that diodes factory that was over here running in its own little world. Now all the things it needs comes over here. The copper wire gets made, the glass gets made. The copper wire and glass get pushed straight to the diodes factory. The diodes factory sends its goods straight out to the appropriate truck depot, and then that truck depot has a line that's set to run it off. So for example, in the case of diodes, we look down here, we've got diodes to Oberon, and it's going to load up on diodes, and it's going to go to Oberon. And of course in Oberon we have a truck depot, and I've started naming them with the name of the city and what they unload. So here they're taking in ceramics, diodes, and wire, copper wire. So that diodes is going to come in here, and then this guy has the unload orders to ship it off to the ironmongery so that we can sell it. So it allows us to set up multiple lines from our origination points here, and at least 3, and we could actually do some research and add more to the depot if we wanted, lines that are received. So, and you noticed over there in Oberon we have 2, because we've now started shipping more products. So we've got barrels, wooden barrels going into Oberon as well, and they go into that depot. So let me just show you, I mean, I know this is just a bunch of talk, but let me show you how this works and how it kind of becomes a plug and play kind of a thing without you having to come up with a whole new place for a whole new industry. So let's look at K-Wood, for example. And K-Wood has construction goods. And we look in here and we see, well, they would buy some glass. Well, of course, glass is easy for us to make. Now, it's not a high-end product. We wouldn't necessarily want to sell it, but let's say we wanted to sell some glass into K-Wood. And so what we would do is we would still use our planning tool, and we would, in fact, we would be smart and get the how much they need first, the demand, 6 per 15. Then we would set up our product as glass, and we see we need 3. So we're going to build 3 glass to come as close as we can to matching that demand. We won't need any loans, certainly, because we're right now, I can tell you, we're about $300 million to the good. I can't build fast enough. And so we're going to need 3 glass, 4 sand, and 2 coal. Now, normally, if I didn't have a more modular approach like this, I would have to go out and say, okay, where can I find coal and sand together? And it just so happened there is down here, there is coal and sand together. But I would have to go down there and set up all my glass business here and then ship it. But because I've kind of got this central place to go, all I have to do is say, okay, what did I say? I'll need 4 sand. So if I need 4 sand, I can add 3 right here. I can expand this one, 1. 2, 3. Okay, that's 3 of them. And now keep in mind, this is already set up. He's already set up to deliver to this truck stop right here, or depot, and this truck depot will go to the warehouse and unload the sand. So that's 3 of the 4 we need. And and we've also got some sand down here. So why don't we, instead of building yet another siphon, let's just add 1 more down here. So we add a harvester here. If we can, and we can. Okay, and we've already got a line set up for the sand to go to here and to run up to our production module up here, our central facility. So now that takes care of the sand. We also need two coal. Now the two coal, we've got a coal mine close by. That would be our preference, but we can only add at the max one there. So let's just go down here to the one down here and add two more coal harvesters to this facility. Oh, I was thinking this was the coal over here. This is the coal over here. So there's two more coal facilities. Okay. So we've added our 4 sand, we've added our 2 coal, we need 3 glass manufacturers. So we'll just go down here and see. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy. All right, I'm going to copy one of the glass. But before we do any more, we're going to set the destination to our depot that takes stuff off to Kaywood. So we're going to go to that one right there. And I'm going to keep that up because we're going to need it in a moment. So that's one, and then we copy this one. Looks like we can turn it around this way. 2 and 1 right there. So now we have 3 glass that are taking their goods to that depot. And all we have to do now, we already have a depot up here. It's kind of full. It's taking refined oil and planks and furniture L, I think that is. So we would want another, so it's time to add another truck depot to Kaywood so we can keep pumping stuff in there. And I'll use my new okay, so this is Kaywood taking glass, and we will tell it to, when you get glass, you want to take that glass to the construction goods store. So we need a new route that goes from here, from this the raw to Kaywood, and goes to our Kaywood glass receiving depot. So we'll just set up a new line with trucks. Start there, we'll grab 4 glass. And I do everything by full loads. We could run less, certainly. On a short distance like this, it would be no problem. But once that gets going, full loads work just fine. And by full, I mean running 4 trucks in a caravan. And what do we got here? CAGL, it's probably on the bottom. Yep, there we go. I got a little stutter problem going on with that particular screen. And let's give this a name. Glass to Kaywood. And we've got one here that's unnamed. Let's name it. This is refined oil to to Parkville. There we go. So now, that's it. We're done, basically. That we have a new business. So we will get more coal and more sand. We'll get the amount we need of coal and sand. So every time we add something, we don't just arbitrarily throw some more coal and sand in there. We figure out how much we need. That's how much we bring. We build up the right number of industries here, and then we move on. Now, if we were to look at that as something we were making, say we were taking the glass and using it somewhere else, then we would set up our delivery for the glass to go to another set of factories where we're making more involved products. But the reason I like this is that, well, first of all, this is the way the real world does it. If you think about, I'm from West Virginia. West Virginia, a lot of coal. And back in the day when coal was big, you would see trains and trucks coming out of those mountains with coal going all over the place. But what you didn't see were big factories coming into those mountains being built because it just wasn't practical. So the coal goes to some place where the factories are. In our case, because we can organize it and take coal and iron and wood and oil and copper and sand and gas and send it all to one place, then we can just distribute it out from there, and it keeps us very organized. And you can see how quickly and easily we set up a new glass business, and we basically didn't take any more space up. We just used up some space here in this area. So that allows us to keep these growing, and you'll notice Kaywood has grown now, has construction goods and car parts, and look at our influence there because we're sending stuff in. So they love us in Kaywood. Of course, they love us here. Now, what we're really looking for, of course, is this, because I happen to know, look at this. Our diner in Iberia, look at our demand for berry pies. It is now 2. It has doubled. So now we can go to our beloved berry pies and we can say our demand is 2. That tells us we need 4 buildings. Well, we only have 2, so we could set up an entire additional berry pie industry, and our sheet projects a monthly net income of something like $5.5 million. And we're making like, on our 2, we're at 2.7 million now. So with 4, we can be like $5.5 million just on berry pies. So the next thing we would want to do, of course, is grab those berry pies. And then the other thing we can do, now that this city is growing so beautifully and we're feeding it so much stuff, we can now look at all these other industries and say, okay, looky here, we got a bookstore. We can set up books, make really good money. We have home goods. We can sell leather furniture, very good profit. Plastic furniture, very good profit. Office furniture, very good profit. In fact, all of these are decent. Wooden barrels, meh, but all of these we can make money on. So we could go into the home goods business big time. So now we've grown our region to the point where we have multiple tier 3 type products that we can go after, and now our money can just go, off the charts. And we can see right here, we made $6 million profit last month. And unfortunately, I've just reloaded this, so we're not going to see. We'd have to let it run for a while to actually see the profit we're making. See, it says we made $3 million last year in berry pies. I promise you that's not right. That's something they need to fix. Is every time you reload, you kind of restart some of your statistics on the financials, and that needs to be fixed. But anyway, I wanted to show you that to show you kind of how that works. And you can also think of it as the way we built those 3 glass and set up that one glass industry. If we didn't have this at all, that's how you would start. You would say, what's the first thing I want to build? Maybe it's steel barrels. Let's do a simple one. Steel barrels. So let's set up our coal right here and our iron right here to come into a central place. Let's put down the appropriate number of steel mills to use that coal and iron, and let's have those steel mills take their goods over to the barrel factories, and the barrels can send their output to the appropriate, to our first depot we would build here, put a depot on the other end to the city that's receiving, set up our lines, and boom, we got a business. Then the next one, we just rinse and repeat. We just keep doing that over and over and just keep using that. This warehouse right here becomes, a monster. It gets used a ton. And you can see that with the exception of oil, which we're getting extra oil because, and we're a little high on coal and a little high on oil. And we could have looked at that and said maybe we didn't even need to have those extra coal mines or the coal harvesters that we built for our little glass industry. But you got to be careful with that because it'd be real easy to say, oh, I don't really need more, and then end up with shortages, which is the last thing we want. I'd much rather have some of this that I just dump or sell off. But what we can do when we see something like that where it's accumulated, we can have the easiest thing in the world to do would be to just say, okay, you've got oil. Where could you sell that? You could sell that in the hardware store at Kaywood pretty easily. So why don't you do that? So we'll just send off a whole bunch of trucks to Kaywood with oil and make a little extra money on that oil. And we could also say, we're seeing a lot of coal. Why don't we sell off some coal? Let's send it to Iberia. So we'll send some coal off as well. And you could, by the way, you could let that just keep going. If you knew you were getting an abundance of something, it's perfectly okay to just keep selling the excess. These businesses will still stay green. And even though all this stuff is spread out all over the place, you see how everything here is green. Everything is getting everything it needs. Everybody is happy. Everybody's working. In fact, the only quote errors or messages we see are right here in our diodes factory because we're full of copper wire, and this is almost inevitable. We keep shipping the copper wire there, and we're making more than we need. So we could easily start selling off in fact, actually, we are even selling copper wire. We just got a little excess of copper wire, so we could look at another place that we could sell it. Or we could dump some, or we could just say, that's okay. We've got a diodes factory that has a full supply of copper wire. What's wrong with that? Same thing here. We've got a ceramics factory that has a full supply of glass. What's wrong with that? Nothing. It'll keep on running. It'll keep producing. We've got a carpentry center here that's making furniture base L, and it has a full supply of wooden planks. There's nothing wrong with that. So if we just think of this as information rather than a problem, we've got a nice profitable system going on here. And I've got an offer to do a contract. Let's just take a quick look here. It's June of year 10. We've got about 10 months to send 10 interior to Oasis, which is our interior business. We can make one every 30 days, so we got 2 of them. We can make 2 in 30 days. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do that. Let's accept that contract, and let's set the rather than going to the car parts shop, we will go off to our contract. Could have copied and pasted, but I wanted to make sure I got the right one. I have been known to update one and then copy and paste the one I didn't update. So okay, so now our linings, and we've got some 2 about to pop out, we'll take off and go to Oasis, which is probably in the next planet. Yeah, way over there, but I think we'll be fine. All right, so we've got a contract going. We've got $350 million in cash, so I need to be building stuff. And obviously what I should be building, of course, 2 more berry pies. Got a great place to do it right over here. We could even look into setting more of a modular approach for it. And by the way, just looking down the road, I want to look into kind of what I call the water-based. You know, after doing that analysis of, you know, what do these different products need? There's a whole set of here. If we look at the raw resources that needed, they fall into patterns of the things that only need water. Several need water and wood. Some products need practically everything. And you can see those are car related typically. But you know, there's a whole bunch of them that are water based, what you might think of as water based. And it's all your food and actually it's food and clothing and a couple other things are just water is the only resource you need. And there could be definitely some smart ways that we can handle that. And we'll look into getting some designs of, you know, a good modular approach for that as you grow your industry. But I was pretty happy with this. I was happy with the idea of getting all this stuff, all these 6 different resources into one spot, and then building up the industries there that needed them. And then, and I guess I should explain too, you've kind of got your warehouse, and you've got the core industries that use those raw materials. And then outside of that core, you have, like over here, this carpentry center is actually, these guys right here are creating the planks. He's creating a final product from the planks, and we are actually shipping some planks directly, but he's creating a final product. This diodes is sort of outside of this loop, but it's being fed by the loop. So if we really expanded this, what we would do is have this inside loop of steel and glass and copper and refined oil and wooden planks, whatever else we built here. We would have that then go and be shipped off to another set. Say maybe we would have a warehouse and a bunch of factories right here nearby, and we would ship the end products from here over to this one, and here we could easily plug in all the things that then need the copper wire and the steel and the glass and what have you from this set of factories. So that's how you would expand and get into a higher tier business and not drive yourself crazy by having, every time you set up a new business for a new city, having to have a whole new location and a whole new set of things you do. You just keep building onto the same locations and adding into your depots. And these depots have a storage of 74 units. So if you can see, I'm running 4 routes out of this one depot, and we're cutting them off at 12. That's 48. So we could actually run, let's see, so we could actually run 6. We could run 2 more businesses, 2 more routes out of this same depot, provided we stayed on top of it and made sure we had the right number of fleets running out of that depot to never let any of the individual products get past 12. So in other words, every time they hit 12, a fleet would take off, and then we'd start to counter over again. So you could actually run, and that's where you gain some economy of scale too. We've got a depot that could run up to 6 businesses, and we've got them targeted to Kaywood, so that'd be fine. We could just keep running. You could run other places from here, of course, or Oberon. Oberon. We're targeting Oberon, so we could run 6 businesses to Oberon out of that one depot. We've got this one going to Kaywood. We could run 6 businesses, products to Kaywood out of that one, or as I said, we could run stuff to other cities. Doesn't have to be that Kaywood. So I hope you get the idea of that. I hope you see how that, I think that simplifies things. It certainly does for me. It was awfully easy to put those 3 glass in there and set up our delivery line and just expand our sand and coal without having to think about where am I going to place a glass business. And in this one, it just happened to be close by, but we could target something over here in Stroud. Oh, look here, we got a liquor store. Oh boy. Now we're cooking. Now it's just going to explode. Now we can just go anywhere we want with this. But let's just see, is there some intermediate product we could send these guys? Well, you know, they actually take wood. Are we overproducing on wood? I don't think we are. We might be. We are actually. So one of the things we could do, here's how hard it would be to set up a wood business. Just set up, grab wood, and go to Stroud, wherever Stroud was. There we go. Now we have a wood business for Stroud. Won't be a great business, and we could, by the way, we could set that up to have the deliveries go to a depot and run a more cost-efficient route to go up there. But as it is, it'll work just fine. All right, so I hope that gave you some ideas, and I would love to hear your comments on, do you like this kind of an approach? I like the fact that, oh, look at all these industries we've got that are running straight green, and all these industries. Now these are our more traditional way of building our sets, and you see a little red pop up once in a blue moon, but basically it stays green. Same thing over here. There was a little flash of red, but it went straight back to green right here. That red actually, the water is not producing, because we're overproducing on our water a little bit. And we haven't even talked about, selling stuff off to the state and all that kind of stuff. And we can get into that later. But, well, here, let's just do it real fast. Let's go over here. Let's go to our linings business. And let's go back to our interior linings. Okay. And we know we're running 2 of them. And we don't care about the demand or anything, because we know we're running 2 interior lining businesses. And if we look at that, we're making some extra fiber, we've got some extra berries, and we've got some extra wood. Now, we could, if we wanted to, look for a place to sell that. So we could say, okay, take those fibers, which are tier 1 product, and where could we take them? See, there's no commercial place to take them. However, they don't need to just sit there and take up space. We can send them off to the state, because right there is one of our state lines, and the other one happens to be right up here, right there. So we've got one really close. That would be very handy for us to just say, why don't you, if we have some extra fibers, just take them off to the state line and sell them. Now, they only get half price, but look at the half price. We're popping in here at about $22,000 a piece. So we can sell those off. And notice that doesn't slow anybody down. Those were red for a moment, but they're producing fibers. They don't need fibers. That's certainly not their problem. So we could look at, I think we said wood. So we could say, okay, the wood. What if we wanted to get rid of that? Or choose to sell what we're overproducing. Now we could look at it and say there are commercial options. In fact, this one would be a good one to send into the hardware store in Oberon, because we will make more money on it than if we sold it to the state. And what else? And I think we said berries. We're overproducing on berries a little bit, so if we wanted to, we could say, take your berries. Now that would be Iberia. That'd be going all the way to Iberia as the closest farmers market that sells berries. So it might just be just as good a thing. Let's just take them to the state and sell them off at the state. And notice here comes a bunch of sales. So we're making a little bit. We're getting some money for those extra berries. It's not hurting us at all. It's not slowing anybody down. It's just selling off the excess so that we have a nice, not overly filled factory or warehouse. Excuse me. Oh, and I think we just, we completed our contract. So we got a big bonus. So good for us. So now we need to remember, whenever you complete a contract, successfully or unsuccessfully, either way, make sure that you go back and refix whatever it is that you did to deliver to that contract. Make sure that we get these guys. In this case, we want that guy to go to the car parts store in Oberon, and we want him to do the same thing. So now we're back in business. We've got our lining business back to its normal state, and we made a bunch of money on the contract. Okay, so that's kind of an idea of selling your overages, selling your surplus into, in this case, we used a combination of the state and a nearby hardware store in order to sell those off. We might as well get that money while it's there. All right, so let's stop right there. I hope you like this idea. I'm going to keep playing with it and keep trying to expand it. In fact, I'll try to take it and expand it to the idea I was talking about, where you actually had literally a kind of a tier 1 and a tier 2 and a tier 3 factory or whatever. But we'll see how that goes. And you can see here we're covering our expenses to the tune of over $2 million now in the first half of the year. And then when the second half kicks in and we get our final sales, we'll have a nice little $9 million month, $11 million in product sales. So that is lovely. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Rise of Industry video. Thank you.